This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
It's true. How is everybody? And welcome to another live edition of the Scarif Scuttlebutt podcast. I am Ro, and with me as always, no, this way, right?
Yeah.
Chantel Skywalker. Shanti, how's it going?
I'm good. I'm wearing my new Scarif shirt that I got in the mail. So I thought I'd show that to everyone. It says Luke Skywalker on it.
And shortly it will be deleted by Disney, I'm sure.
So I'm glad I bought it.
Yeah, excellent. That's going to be a collector's. Thank you, everybody in the chat. We got some folks coming in. DJ Red 4, one of our wonderful Red 5 network partners. And Dave Richards, we did it a little early for you. Hopefully you can stay and hang out with us throughout the whole thing. We're going to be talking about a movie that came out in 1975, and we have a special guest, one of our patrons, Frank, who is going to join us in a second. Nicole, how's it going? I was thinking about you today, Nicole. We are obviously talking about all the wonderful things that we have planned for our Chicago Scarif Con next month, and obviously for some reason you're top of mind, Nicole, and I'm really excited to kind of finish planning everything that we have in store. Because I know there's a lot of folks that are going to join us at Alley Cat Comics on July 10th, and it's going to be fantastic. Well, I know you're waiting for a plane ticket, Shanti, so check your mail, but that'd be so awesome. But hey, we'll get more details as the date approaches. We got a couple of things planned even before then with some of the rest of our Chicago crew, like the folks over at WSTR. We got Greg from Rebel Base Card, a lot of Chicago people that joined us last year and every year that we have had it. We started the Scarif Scuttlebutt podcast 19. We had the first one then, and we've had one every year since. So we're going to keep this momentum going and bring you some more fun from Chicago. But in the meantime, tonight's discussion is going to be an interesting one because there's a little bit of contention that kind of spurred this discussion. And I'm going to bring Frank in, one of our patrons, so he can kind of explain what's going on. And then I had a question for you, Chantel, about Jaws. But let's bring Frank in. Frank, how's it going, brother?
Hi, Frank.
How's it going, guys? How you guys doing?
Good.
Going great. So just explaining to the folks a little bit regarding our show tonight. And Frank, you and I are fans of Jaws. We understand what that film means overall. And I just had one question for Chantel. And that question is, what the hell is wrong with you, Shanti? Explain yourself. But
I don't see what the big deal is.
So a little background here. So obviously we're talking about Jaws, and give us the cliff notes, Frank. What spurred this conversation to try to convince Chantel about Jaws and how great it is? And obviously we're tongue in cheek. We're not here to convince or change anybody's mind on what they like or don't like. But give us a little background there.
All right, let me just get a little comfortable here because I got quite a bit to say. I don't remember exactly how it started, but what I do remember is the words coming out of her mouth saying, like, I don't see what the big deal about Jaws is.
Yeah. Right.
Because she said that it wasn't scary. And then her thing is that she doesn't consider it a horror movie.
Correct.
And then I just fell out of my chair.
Exactly.
To think that literally one of the greatest movies ever made. First ever summer blockbuster. And she just said, like, it's all right.
I had a serious lapse in judgment and tweeted that. And then
And then I told her, I go, like, I think you need to watch it again. And then she told me she watched it, and mind you, while she's watching it, she's messaging me saying like, oh, this is happening. Yeah, there are the notes. Messaging me this, and then she's like, I don't see what the big deal is, and I don't know what to say.
Yeah, we're gonna get down to business, but I just posted a question in the chat, Frank, you mentioned Jaws, the greatest movie ever made. I wanted to get some folks to chime in because that's a pretty high mark there. Obviously, there have been many movies, some really great ones. And I know obviously we are, Star Wars and Indiana Jones. We're talking about all that stuff. Jaws is obviously great. But the greatest movie ever made, I wanted to get some feedback from the chat because, like I said, that's a pretty lofty statement. And that's cool. Yeah. But let's get down to brass tacks. I know a lot of people are chiming in. People are saying Star Wars, Return of the Jedi, movies like that. Back to the Future. Hello, Frank. Okay.
Okay. All right. So let me.
Hyperbole is the word you're looking for.
Let me clarify my comments. So yes, everybody knows Back to the Future is my all-time favorite movie, but the more I saw, because mind you, I saw Jaws many times before leading up to this podcast. So I made sure to really get my knowledge in. And to even delve in deeper, I watched documentaries about Jaws. So I'm coming in guns blazing. It's just, like from beginning to end of the movie, it's like it just clicks on every part. It's like John Williams. We all love John Williams. His scores are legendary. It's pretty much you can say it's the soundtrack of our childhood.
Sure. It's
Star Wars, Indiana Jones, E.T., just the list goes on and on. 2 notes, the whole movie. 2 notes to drive fear into people's, come on, that's just,
absolutely.
Like, what can you say? It's almost like it's very, like Alfred Hitchcock, It just hits on so many, like Hitchcock didn't need a lot of things. It's like simple things. Absolutely. And that's what I feel with Jaws. It just clicked on so many levels. Yeah. So I have notes here just like Chantel. I know she has her notes. I have my notes right in front of me. So I'm ready to go.
So, let's back it up. Jaws was released in, give me some facts here, 1975.
June 20th, 1975.
Right. So we are upon, we're coming up to an anniversary, and I know we wanted to do this closer to the date, but I think it's Father's Day, and nobody wanted to do any live streaming on Father's Day. 1975, we're coming up on an anniversary. Jaws, obviously directed by Steven Spielberg.
The man.
And the man. And it's one of those movies that a lot of things came together. Obviously, we talked about Steven Spielberg. We have the iconic, music that again composed by
John Williams.
There you go. All these things coming together. It was one of the very early films in history that really defined summer blockbuster. For folks that obviously I don't think anybody in our chat was alive in 1975, but talk about changing cinema. And I know, Dave, you're talking about Star Wars changing cinema and filmmaking. Obviously, we all know that, but the notion of a blockbuster was kind of a foreign thing back before Jaws came out. And there were even, it was so terrifying to people that when the beaches were were like empty. Yeah. I mean, people were like so freaked out at this movie that nobody wanted to get into the water. And obviously that became kind of the theme for the catchphrases of the film. Just when you thought it was safe to go back in the water, when they did Jaws 2 and subsequently the other Jawses, which we're not going to go there. But but it's it's a movie that obviously deserves its place in cinema history. But again, back to my question, Shanti, what the hell's wrong with you, man?
What's up with that?
What's up with that? So
there's going to be 2 different points. Yeah.
Let's give her an opportunity to rebuttal on the scuttle. Go for it.
That was good. So first of all, I never said Jaws was a bad movie. It's not a bad movie in the least bit. My biggest thing has always been I don't see it as a horror movie because I have a very different definition of what horror should be. Yes, I understand sharks are terrifying, whatever. I personally don't feel that way. I would gladly go shark diving, honestly. It's something I've always wanted to do, so I don't see that. I appreciate that movie from a technical aspect because I am never one to say that a movie is cheesy, because I put into my head this is made in a certain decade, it's made in a certain time period, technology was or wasn't there. So for me, from a technical standpoint, even when you do finally see the shark, I don't find myself laughing. I actually think it's still looks pretty good. I know some people say it looks goofy, but I don't actually still think it looks pretty good. I just, I still just don't get what the big deal is. I think it's a very well acted movie, but in terms of story, maybe because I'm looking at it from who's the actual villain here, to me, as someone who lives in a very beach filled area, I understand that the moment I get in that water in my bathing suit, I'm on their turf. So the woman, so one of the things I wrote, so one of the things I respect the sea. So one of the things that I wrote was the beginning of the movie, which is iconic. The woman getting killed in the beginning of the movie. It's shocking, kind of like Scream. You don't expect somebody to die so quickly in the first 5 minutes. But my first thought was, even having rewatched it, was, well, I'm sorry, if you're going to go swimming at that hour when it's dark as hell, you kind of deserve what you get. So you know what? You have no sympathy from me, because that's something I would never do. I don't know. I also see it as, I will give it this. It's the only one in its category that stands alone as an actual good movie, because all it's done is spawn off crap. Piranha, Orca, the Meg, Deep Blue Sea. What really has come out after Jaws that can live up to Jaws? Nothing. So I give it that. But at the end of the day, it's about a shark, and y'all are invading.
You call him Bruce. Damn it! His name is Bruce.
You are invading Bruce's space. He has every right. I say you're all chum. Because we as humans, we're so arrogant that we think we just own everything, is my thing. And for you to think that you can go in the ocean and you're going to be 100% safe, that's naive. But I live near the water. Not everyone, a lot of people are landlocked.
Sure.
And I can understand. Hey, my mom was scared by that movie. She was 16 when that movie came out. To this day, she does not go in the ocean.
Wow. I actually brought up this question to Chantel.
She won't.
And I want to bring it up to the people on the chat. You say that it's the shark's territory. I brought this question up to you. Would you consider then Alien us invading his turf, or it's a mutual thing that they were both in a planet that wasn't indigenous to either one of them, but yet they attacked us first? Now, what would you say about that?
Yeah, I know, and I can't remember what it was, what my response was. I think you know what it was, is that I forgot that the aliens themselves were not native to that planet. I had completely forgotten about that. So yeah, I can't remember what it was that I ended up saying. I think I sympathized with the aliens because I forgot that they weren't native to that land, and I'm like, well, you're going to look for this thing, you're asking for it. But yeah,
I put up a comment from Dave, and he definitely has a point regarding the horror genre. What do you guys think of that? It doesn't seem like it's any different than a Michael Myers, a Jason Voorhees, et cetera, et cetera. It's just that, this is a shark. It's got other connotations too. It's got the whole, not Jonah and the whale, the other whale story, Captain Ahab,
Moby Dick.
And Moby Dick, so, he becomes obsessed at one point, towards the end of the movie. He wants to get this shark. So it's Go ahead.
No, what I put in one of my notes, I put how the trio of Hooper, Quint, Brody, they all have distinct abilities to them, but they actually have their flaws are essentially what brings them apart. Which I put Hooper brings intelligence and resources but lacks humility. Quint brings experience and drive, but his obsessive, compulsive leads to his own demise.
Right.
And Brody brings rationality, but lacks experience. So how you see, and that's one of the things I love about this movie. It's, we think back of some of the greatest trios in history. You got Luke, Han, Leia. You got Harry, Hermione, even though I'm not a big, Harry Potter, and Ron, the trios, this movie kind of set the precedent for that trio. If like reading up and getting, my information about this movie, no, like these three actors were not supposed to be the original people in the movie. They had other people that they wanted. I think it was John Voight was one of them.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, but they had so many other actors that they wanted, but then they landed on these three. And honestly, I don't think I could ever watch this movie without these three in it.
Right.
No,
they
it's
bring such
cast.
a perfectly cast. I mean, one of the things about this movie that I think is that it was perfectly cast. Everything, like top to bottom.
And that movie wasn't even supposed to be released in 75. It was supposed to be a Christmas 74 release. They
Merry
had
Christmas.
so many, they had exactly. They had so many issues with the mechanical shark and shooting in water and the filming delays. And again, I mean, Hollywood has had some great, stories about, having trouble in water. You've got the stories from Waterworld with Kevin Costner. Tons of money spent on that. Titanic, obviously. So, when it comes to shooting in otherworldly places, there's probably no otherworldly place than, out in the ocean. And then as far as what you said, Chantel, regarding, now you're in their world, that is so, right on. You're, as a filmmaker, you're in their world too, because you're not in the usual spot where you can just load up a camera, get your camera gear and just go. You got to prep, you got to plan, you got to do all this stuff. And usually when it comes to water, all that stuff kind of goes, out the back window there.
Yeah.
What else about Jaws has us all excited? I mean, this is, Chantel, like I said, we're not going to convince you, but come on, man.
It is one of the most quotable. That's, I mean, everyone knows. Yeah, it's so famous for that. Obviously, we're gonna need a bigger boat. Try chumming this shit and a doll's eyes, and I mean, come on, like we all know that. But I will say this: one thing that I did right, because you brought up Hitchcock, and I love Alfred Hitchcock. I did like the camera work in the sense of the perspective of the shark. I enjoyed that level of being in the water and seeing what Bruce is seeing. I thought that was very interesting. In fact, would you have preferred that they actually had never shown the shark at all? Like there was something actually even more eerie and creepy about actually not seeing it.
Well, that's one of the genius things about Steven Spielberg making the movie, is that there was supposed to be way more shark in the movie. Like there was supposed to be a lot more shark in the movie, but evidently they couldn't get it to work. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the genius things about Steven Spielberg. He says well, do we even need to really show the shark? And then people are like, what do you mean? I'm like, Hitchcock, how many times you actually, you watch Psycho, you see Norman Bates dressed up, spoilers, you see Norman Bates dressed up as his mother.
You hear the mother's voice, but you never see anything.
But you never see it. Mm-hmm. It isn't until the last scene of the movie where you finally see him dressed up as his mother, and you're like, wow.
Which is why I said, I liked the slow buildup.
The slow buildup. Go ahead, bro.
And in that, in the case of Psycho, it worked on your inside your head too, because because you really didn't know if he was actually hearing his mother, if she was actually up there, or what. And by the time the movie ends, again, spoilers, I mean, it's all in his head, and she's been dead for quite a while. Again, it's it's a happy accident that Bruce didn't end up not working as well. I have a quick little piece of trivia for you. There's a very famous director that got his head stuck in the shark's mouth. Who do you guys think that is? He came to visit Steven on the set, and they were playing around. And
was it Lucas?
He got his...
It wasn't Rian Johnson, unfortunately.
No, it wasn't Rian Johnson. Should have been. Oh, did that slip out?
Whoops.
No, it was George Lucas. Obviously, they are good friends. Yeah. George Lucas and Martin Scorsese, I think, were they all went to film school, so they're all kind of hanging out. And obviously,
all
at that
buds.
time, George and Spielberg had kind of a nice little friendly rivalry going, starting with Star Wars and Close Encounters. They each took, money on the back end of each film. And I remember Lucas saying, or Spielberg was saying, what did he say? He said something about, I wish I had done Star Wars because I would have made a lot more money than I did. But yeah, absolutely. George Lucas was playing around with Bruce and got stuck in his head. Very funny. But yeah, I mean, happy accidents. That's, again, I know J.J. Abrams is talking about planning the sequel trilogy and plan this and plan that. But sometimes when you plan stuff, and in the case of movies like Jaws, even as much as you plan, sometimes things don't come out the right way. But, again, happy accidents do happen. So,
yeah. Oh, man.
What's even more funny is literally Jaws set the precedent for summer blockbuster by Spielberg, and then a few years later, Lucas blew
and
him out
then
of the water.
2 years later, yeah.
Literally.
Just, yeah. Oh, somebody mentioned the book in the chat. So let's talk a little bit about the book. And I know, there's this joke, the movie, or the book is better than the movie, et cetera, et cetera. But there's also, you said that you read the book?
Yeah, I read the book. I actually read the book quite a few years ago, and it's crazy when you read the book and you watch the movie, how much, obviously it's similar, the content that they took from the book into the movie, but how different it could have been as well. Like, if nobody's read the book, I'm sorry. I'll spoil it just a little bit.
Yeah, go ahead.
What are some of the differences?
Well, some of the differences is Brody's wife was having an affair with Hooper in the book. She actually, before they got married, before Brody and his wife got married, she had this very lavish lifestyle, and she missed it. She says she didn't want to be, the everyday housewife, with the kids. And she had an affair, which is kind of weird. She had an affair with Hooper's brother first, and then had an affair with Matt Hooper, which was crazy. And then other things in the book, the mayor of the town, which we got to give credit to the mayor of Jaws. It's probably one of the biggest, douchebags.
Yeah.
Such a douchebag.
But I'll say he's an asshole.
He plays the character so well. So well. And then he's actually, which if you kind of look in the movie and then you read the book, how they say in the book that he was taking bribes from the mafia to keep the beach open to make money, to pay the mafia, because I guess like he had debt or something. So the mafia said, no, you got to keep the beach open, you got to make money. And then like if you kind of think about it in the movie, how he says like we have to keep the beaches open, we need to make money. Obviously they don't say it in the movie, but it kind of hints to like, this guy's all about making money. It's all about making money for the town, making money for him, and making money for the people on the side.
I'm glad that wasn't included in the movie.
Yeah, I know that would have probably that's ridiculous. Well,
because I even wrote down like the mayor's just your typical politician that only cares about money and this and that. So I don't feel like you even need all that backstory, I guess.
But I actually love the scene where they're at the hospital and Brody is trying to egg him on to, you need to hire Quint to kill the shark.
Right.
The guy finally, you see a little bit of humility in him where he says like, my kids were on that beach too.
But that's not humility. But that's selfishness. He only cared once it affected him, and he thought about the fact that his children were on the beach. What about the two people that died before them? A typical politician. He only cared when he thought it was going to affect him. Then all of a sudden, let's close the beach.
But those type of things.
He's a dick. He's the villain, if anything, not the.
He kind of tries to redeem himself a little bit in the sequel, just a little bit. But
I didn't see the sequel. I didn't know.
Yeah, well, you shouldn't probably see it. One of the other, I guess.
Wasn't there the third one in 3D? It was Jaws 3.
Please, Ro, please.
Oh God.
I gotta look
Deleted.
for that.
No. No.
It had, I mean, the cast. Well, I mean, it had a good cast. It had Dennis Quaid. I think it had Leah Thompson. I think before Back to the Future.
Yeah.
And I think it had who had Louis Gossett. I think also was in it. But yeah, let's never. I mean, it's probably the worst.
No.
It's like the worst.
That's where
3D
I
movie
said
ever
that
made.
it does. That's where I said that it does follow the horror movie formula, in that, of course, it spawned really crappy sequels.
Yeah.
Well, not only that, but it didn't have Spielberg attached to it. He
No,
pretty
of
much
course
did one,
not.
and that's it. He
No.
washed his hands with it.
I think you should have left it at that, and it would be even more impactful, honestly, because now you've just poked fun of it and made it silly.
Yeah.
I'm punchy today.
You are punchy. Another
I know.
side note, post Jaws hysteria was not a publicity stunt. And we talked about how even after the movie, everybody was afraid to go to the beach.
True.
It says, we were afraid to go back in the water, and sometimes things got out of hand. One Southern California beach had to be cleared by lifeguards because of a shark sighting panic, and it turns out it was just dolphins. But on a more serious note, the idea of a vengeful rogue shark, a fictional creation, spurred a national fervor of fear, a drop in beach tourism, and a rise in shark killings, which is too bad. It has taken decades of science and activism to help post-Jaws generations understand and respect the role of sharks and how they play in oceans and the ecosystem overall. It is too bad that a film kind of spurred that movement of really killing sharks. And again, us humans are in their backyard. They're animals. It's not their fault. It's really that's the sad aspect of this movie. But I mean, it was really emotional for a lot of people. Freaked.
And I understand. Yeah. Oh, I get the psychology behind it, but from what you just said right there, that's probably also a portion of me that's probably why I also don't like the movie, because you've given these creatures now a bad name.
Name.
Well,
I don't
the author,
like that.
The author. Go ahead, Joe.
No, I was going to say it was similar to when when War of the Worlds was first broadcast on radio back in the 30s. Panic in the streets, and I think I love that. That's like really cool. It's really a badass way to kind of promote your project, make it seem like like it's real.
We're actually being invaded.
Yeah. What dummies we were back in the 30s.
I was gonna say, is that a good thing?
I know, it's like, I don't know
so
about
highly
that.
influenced.
I see a comment here. Oh, go ahead.
Is that
I was
this
gonna.
one?
Yeah, I was gonna read that one. Where Peter Benchley, who wrote Jaws, he now is an advocate for sharks. He's actually now, trying to save, because he feels, obviously responsible for the mass hysteria of people afraid of sharks, and now he's actually become somebody who's trying to preserve. Because I mean, there was a time when the movie, came out, and many years later, where sharks were actually very endangered.
Yeah.
Because people were just, hunting them, saying like, oh, you got to kill all the sharks. They're menaces of the sea, and they became nearly extinct.
And speaking of Peter Benchley, and it's Benchley, right? Not Brenchley. Yeah,
Benchley.
Peter. So speaking of Peter, he made a cameo in the movie. Do you remember what scene that was?
I do, but I don't want to say it.
I can't remember, but I did read this.
Anybody in the chat know Peter Benchley got a cameo in the film? Just drop it in the chat if anybody wants to acknowledge that. But a Backyard TARDIS, another one of our wonderful patrons, says that lots of films do this. Dalmatians are not the best dogs for kids, but after 101 Dalmatians, everybody ran out and got puppies.
No, that was horrible.
Bad idea.
That unfortunately, I mean, it falls on the adults, the parents, to kind of, get educated and figure it out. So don't blame the children.
Just reacting. Mm-hmm.
And don't blame the dogs either. That's one of the things.
Exactly.
Because there's a big misconception about certain breeds of dogs, and I always say it's not the breed, it's the owner.
Right.
It's like if you treat a dog like a person, treat them with respect, and they'll love you to your dying day.
Exactly.
That's why I'm on the side of the animals. I'm on the side.
Okay,
How
but
do you
a
know
dog
Bruce
is different than
just
a
like
25-foot great white shark.
Bruce was like, "Listen, I'm tired of y'all swimming in my ocean. Enough is enough. I need to do something."
You're not gonna hug a great white shark.
Right.
I would
So
gladly.
cuddly. So cuddly. Yeah. So is that true? Nicole's got in the Cruella credits. They advocate for dog rescuing.
Yes.
Cool.
Yes. At the end, they do. Mm-hmm.
You know, everybody in the chat, if you guys, I'm a big animal person. Obviously, you guys are too. Treat your animals right. They're part of the family. Please. We don't advocate, going out and killing great whites or anything else. We just don't like killing. Just stop.
And I already heard the horrible news that a bunch of people who adopted dogs and cats and stuff during COVID, because now everything's lifting back up and they're returning them back to the animal shelters. Yep. So now you're going to flood the shelters.
Right.
Way to go. Glad you guys thought about the future.
And that happens every Easter with the bunnies.
Oh, don't get me started.
I mean,
just
come on, people.
Come on.
We love animals too, Nicole.
I know I do.
Animals.
Not insects. I don't like insects, but.
Oh, but why not insects? Come on. Hey,
other animals, Bad.
They're all
bad
God's creatures. Come on.
All bad experience.
So
I won't kill them though.
Yeah, we'll kill them.
No.
We do you call somebody to come and kill an insect for you? My wife did that. We lived like across town.
Call somebody?
She called me up one day and said,
"No, there is no calling anybody. It's me frozen, having a panic attack, crying, can't move. No, it's a literal phobia.
Wow.
Like the list that I could give you. Like I don't even like butterflies.
I get it.
I don't even like butterflies. Go away. Like
butterflies are cool. My wife is
they're not.
terrified. She's terrified of insects. Anything
they're creepy.
with more than two. Yeah, and they're pretty, but then they land, and then she starts to look at their bodies, and it's like
stop. Yep, I'm done.
Stop. Yeah.
And the bigger the insect, the worse it is. Only ants. I only do ants.
Speaking of animals, here's a good tie-in. The dogs that appear in the movie, the police chief Brody's dogs, they were somebody's dogs for real. Obviously, but somebody in the movie, whose dogs were they? Do you know that one?
That one I don't know.
No, I do not.
They were
I'm about to learn something.
Two Cocker Spaniels, Elmer and Zalman. They were Steven Spielberg's dogs.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Funny.
Those are great names.
Yeah.
It is. Those
Elmer
are great
and
names.
Zalman. Come on, guys. Awesome. Yeah.
Do you think there's a reason why there hasn't been anything as good since then? I mean, really think about it. Has there really been anything like that?
And what do you specifically mean? Like another shark attack type
just
movie?
Another and I'm not saying not Godzilla, not King Kong, nothing fantastical like that. Something in the realm of Anaconda, Lake Placid, like an actual animal that's gone awry like that.
So here's my thought is that Jaws really broke the mold when it came out. That's why some of these other movies are just like either silly or funny, or obviously don't live up to
Sharknado.
Right. And and obviously movies like Sharknado and projects like Sharknado owe it all to Jaws, for sure, in one way or another. But I don't think that anyone can come in and do another shark attack movie or an animal movie without it being compared in some way or in some form to Jaws, because like I said,
the standard.
It set the standard. It's really high, and
no one's been able to meet it.
Anything made even approachable to that is not going to get there. So
I would say probably trying to think the closest thing of like an animal that instilled, I guess, fear and terror would probably be, I would say probably Cujo. Probably the closest thing.
Yeah, I can see that. You're right.
Because Cujo's, it's, and that's one of the things.
Dog.
It's a dog. It's something like man's best friend.
Right.
You never
think
of them.
Think that way.
You don't want to think that way. And then, that whole movie, I mean, mind you, that whole movie, the setting was a car. Inside a car with a dog on the outside, you can't get out. he wants to get in. That was pretty terrifying.
That movie makes me physically hot. Like I have to drink water when I'm, because they're
which
in that
movie?
car trap.
Oh,
Cujo.
Yeah.
They're in the
Cujo.
car trap and it's hot as hell. And the dogs. Every time I watch the movie, I have to have water with me.
So we're talking about movies that are similar to Jaws, or that
Mm-hmm.
one, that one animal or creature. What other animals? We talked about anaconda. Chantel, you mentioned piranha, which I thought was pretty good too. And after that, I remember seeing piranhas in fish tanks and stores and stuff like that, and like freaking out. There's Cujo. There's
See, I missed that one. I didn't. The Deep Blue Sea. That was another
Deep
shark
Blue
one, and
Sea,
the
right.
Meg. That was also another shark one.
I think our
Deep Blue Sea actually, it's not.
is that the one with Sam Jackson?
With Sam and
Really?
yeah, and LL Cool J.
Literally,
Yeah, I like that one.
spoilers, literally dies within like 10, 15 minutes of the
Yeah.
movie, which that's
Oh.
one of the biggest shocks.
Dave Richard
Oh.
has a great point.
Yeah, I saw
What?
that one.
Totally forgot about. How can we forget about the one?
Oh!
Only the birds. Exactly.
The birds. You know what?
Oh man.
I love the birds. I
Yeah.
love that movie because I do not like things that fly. It has an advantage.
Now let me ask you. Now
That
you know what,
movie
Dave?
creeps me out.
Dave Richards, thank you for bringing that up. So now, what's your take on birds then?
It
We're
still
on land;
doesn't-
they're in the sky.
It still doesn't scare me, but the thought of it, yeah, I can see why it would freak people out. See, my mom, again, that's another one that I know plenty of people who do not can't take that movie at all.
What if the movie was not called Birds and it was called Grasshoppers?
Stop it.
Would you be scared of grasshoppers? I think you
Stop
would.
it. I already am. Like, do you have any? Oh my god! When they started talking about the cicadas, because of course I will not do any research that has anything to do with bugs, out of
Yeah.
fear of what pictures will come up.
Right.
I remember
Just-
texting my friend frantically, like, "Listen, we're in Miami. Are those fuckers coming over here? I need to know. Do I need to board up my sliding glass door because I do not need cicadas invading my apartment right now because I will die of a panic attack." And they're like, "No, they're in the Northeast." I'm like, "Thank God." I don't
you
know
guys
how I
live in, you guys
survived
live
here.
in Florida with a lot
I
of
don't know
really
how.
large bugs.
Stop it. I don't know how I survived here. Born and raised, and I can't.
Yeah.
That's why I've developed phobias. I've had so many bad experiences since
And I
I was
know
a kid.
And I know we've got some listeners in Australia, and talk about
That's
Oh no!
bugs
no.
central.
yeah, wow.
Yeah, I won't be ever going to the Amazon or Australia.
You know,
You'll
I was
catch
in
me there.
I was in Puerto Rico years ago for a friend's wedding, and there's a jungle in Puerto Rico, one of the only jungles in the northern hemisphere,
Crushed it, Frank.
called El Yunque. And I was surprised at the lack of insects when I was rolling in that jungle, which surprised me. It's kind of cool.
Good.
Yeah,
This is
good.
why I welcome the winter.
Yeah. Funny.
But that's why I say I understand the psychology again. I understand the psychology behind Jaws because I can assure you, if you made a movie about butterflies or any other insect, I most likely won't watch it for that reason because it would terrorize me. So that could be another reason why I said I don't find Jaws frightening, because I'm the kind of idiot that would gladly dive. I've gone swimming with stingrays. I've gone out into the ocean swimming with stingrays. I have no fear of that.
Stingrays are a little bit different than great white sharks.
No, they're not. They killed Steve Irwin with their barbs. So anything you
God
encounter in the
rest his
ocean
soul.
has got. That broke my heart, and still I dove right in with them.
Crikey.
Listen, if you do your research and you respect the animal kingdom, it'll respect you back.
Yeah,
That's how I
but
see it.
it'll
that's one of
it'll also eat you.
That's well, you know.
You can
I
respect all
go
you
in
want.
there.
You're
I go
still
in
a
there
meal.
expecting that, though.
You're
Listen,
still
if
a
I
meal.
go on safari, I fully expect that a lion may come out of nowhere
That
and kill
shark
my ass, and that's
swallow you
fine.
whole.
Yeah, and I expect it. That's why you got to be aware of your surroundings. I've been in the water in Miami. I've had to get out of the water because there was a shark nearby.
It's one of the
It's
things about
happened.
Jaws that
It's happened.
terrified me is like how the sense of like when you get into the water, you can't see below your, depending on the water that you're in, you can't see below
Even
your
when
waist.
I'm on vacation.
That's why I don't
Even
swim
when
in
I'm on
lakes.
vacation, I'm on the Gulf side, and we go in. I think the first time I was in St. Petersburg. I'm like walking around, and I feel something that, dude, it felt like a skull, like the top of a skull, and I'm like, oh shit! I'm telling my son, there's a skull in the water. I got to get out of here.
Well, living in Miami, when you get into the beach, like when you get into the first couple, inches or feet of water, it's warm. When you start to get a little bit further, you feel that coldness.
And it just dips.
It just dips, and then it's just like that's pretty much. I just go running right back to the
I've
mainland.
gone out. I've swam out. Yeah, I swam out pretty far before, and it's a little freaky. If I can't see my feet, I'm not going in. That's why I don't swim in lakes.
But that's where the fear of Jaws comes in, because most of the time in the movie, like you said, like they don't show the full shark,
right?
At least an hour and 20 minutes into the movie. So basically, an hour and 20 minutes in the movie, which is genius. Like the only thing that you know about the shark is that something bad's gonna happen when you start to hear the theme song. When you hear the you know that it's coming.
Yeah.
Oh, that's masterful. It's just good filmmaking.
No, it's masterful. And then there's the one scene in the movie where Brody and Hooper are on the boat. They're going out to look for the shark, and they come across was it Ben Gardner's boat? He goes diving in, and instantly, like, imagine you're in the movie theater in 1975. You think the shark's coming. The shark's coming. But what's the one thing you don't hear in the background? You don't hear the theme.
Right.
So unless like you pick on that stuff, you're thinking like, oh, this guy's shark bait. But no, you don't hear the theme. You're like, all right, he's gonna be okay. And then they give you that little pop scare right there where Ben Gardner's head comes out, which to me that's one of the biggest jump scares ever.
That's the only jump scare to me in the movie, honestly. That's the only scene that made me like kind of jump. Everything else was just whatevs. I'm so sorry.
We all know that wonderful improvised line in our favorite trilogy, Star Wars, where Leia says, "I love you," and Han says,
"I know."
There's an improvised line in Jaws too, which may surprise everybody to learn. Highly quotable. And that wasn't written. It was said on the day of shooting. Do you guys know what that line is? Or let's talk about let's ask our chat. Do you guys know what that line is? That improvised line in Jaws that is very similar to the Han, "I know I love you. I love you, I know." We'll take anybody's comment in the chat.
That quote to me is probably, I would say, top 5, one of the greatest quotes of all time.
Yeah. I'm gonna after this, like maybe during the week, I'll make a post and see what everybody's most quotable top 5 lines are, and I bet you that'll be in there.
It's gotta be. It's
huge. Yeah.
It's iconic.
Yeah.
No, just as like the scene itself building up to that quote. It's like, it's. I'm trying to wait to see if anybody in the chat says anything, but.
And by the way, I do have a level of appreciation for this movie because I remember even as a kid going to Universal and the Jaws ride being one of my favorite rides at Universal Studios in Orlando. Yeah. Loved it. I never felt like I was scared by it. I always I don't know, maybe it was just a weird child. I don't know.
Well, we know that.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I own it. It's fine. It's cool.
Dale, you can pop it in the chat if you know. Otherwise, I'm going to put it up on screen. And I know you guys know it. I know. Yeah.
And I do have the whole soundtrack on my phone. I have like probably every John Williams.
How is it? What? Okay, what? Dale, how are you saying that that's not iconic? That is probably one of the most
unless
iconic.
He's thinking of another. Unless he's thinking of another quote. But I just popped it up on screen. We're going to need a bigger boat.
Oh, love it.
And, everyone knows that line. Yeah. Everybody. How do you not know that line?
I would just love to go to the movie. Like, if there's one, I've seen Back to the Future of movie theaters. I would love to see Jaws in movie theater. Just to see
I would like to see that one too.
The audience's reaction when that scene happens. Because,
It's interesting. I mean, it's wonderful to be able to do that. But these are the types of movies that I wish. I always tell my wife, I wish we can unwatch a movie so we can watch it again for the first time. And Jaws is definitely one of them. Star Wars, obviously, Empire Strikes Back, all those the great films. Jaws is one of them. All the classics. Those are the type of movies that you wish you can unsee so you can see them again. And it's really great. Yeah.
Or at least have the DeLorean and go back and watch yourself watching it for the first time. I would love that. That'd be great.
A woman after my own heart.
Mm.
There's No Place Like Home was not in Jaws.
That would
but that is the top. That's
no, but
huge.
Yeah.
Whoa.
The Wizard of Jaws. That would have been a great
The Wizard of Jaws.
Wizard of Jaws.
Now the Wizard
airing
of Oz
on the
is my
Sci-Fi
all-time
Channel
favorite movie. So
right after Sharknado 17.
Oh God.
Oh Lord.
Sharknado.
Dale says it's not as iconic for him. You mean the line that we just
to
posted
each their
up?
own.
Yeah, that's fine.
To each their own.
What? But maybe Dale's got another line.
I probably wouldn't put in my personal 5. I probably wouldn't put in my personal 5. But I agree that
now I
it's
gotta
the top
think.
quote.
Yeah. Now I really got to think because I'm really gonna put that.
Oh, we got to do a Mount Everest of movie quotes.
Oh yeah, we're gonna. I mean, there's so. I mean, there's so many in the pantheon of movies.
Yeah.
It's.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That'd be cool to do. I know Star Wars did that when they went touring Star Wars in concert.
Oh, that's
but
cool.
to see
I'd
Jaws
like
in
to do
theaters
that.
with a live orchestra.
The live orchestra. That's epic.
In the water. Have you seen that? Where they do. Oh, that would be so awesome.
See, that would probably change my mind.
But you know what? If I were organizing that, I would have like a diver underneath in the water, just like touching people's feet.
Or have somebody come with like a fin just going
that
around.
would do it.
Wow.
We're terrible.
Can we just talk about really quick about Robert Shaw's iconic Indianapolis speech? Man,
he's my favorite character. He's amazing. He's so perfectly insane, and I love.
I mean, that's why I'm wearing this hat because this is.
He's a sea dog.
No, not only that, but like you could tell, like this, like the one thing I love about Quint's character in the movie, you see him like 20 minutes into the movie. It's not like until almost like an hour that you finally see him again in the movie.
Yep.
But he laid in such an iconic, like, like when you meet this guy, he's seen a lot of stuff. Like he's not bullshitting. Like he's like, you know what? No. Like this shark is not anything to sneeze at. This thing, like he says, like this shark will swallow you whole, which is kind of funny. He kind of foreshadowed his own death. But it's like it's so iconic. Like his character is there for like only a few minutes. The movie keeps going, and then they bring him back, like almost like in the middle, or almost like ending, like close to the ending of the movie. But you know that you need this guy to get this shark. Mm-hmm. And then all his little, like his mannerisms, like how he picks on Hooper in the movie, and how he's just chilling on the boat, drinking his beer while he's just fishing, and then it's all calm and everybody's not getting along, and then when he's just there sitting, his thing just clicks. It goes click, click, and like you already know, oh, it's about to go now, and then everybody needs to start getting in their positions. But yeah, his character is.
But that's also a sign of a good actor. That's a sign of a good actor because he's in it the least out of the three of them, and still, I would say he's my favorite. And I liked Hooper up to a certain point, but like you were saying earlier, he becomes so arrogant once the three of them are on that boat that I was like, I cannot stand Richard Dreyfuss in these last 30 minutes of the movie. I want to throw him overboard. I was really sad when Robert Shaw got eaten. I was really sad about that. I was like, man.
That's one of the. But then going back, like how we're talking about, like like Hooper's so arrogant and Quinn is so cool. Brody's character is one that I have more appreciation for now more than ever because I doing in my research and getting my notes and everything, I came across the 10 hero steps, like the hero's journey,
Right.
and they touch on certain things, and it's funny how they have one for Brody where it says like out of all 12, he hits all 12 of the hero's journey, where like he starts off as this ordinary person. He hates the water. He doesn't want to go near the water. It's like, how are you a chief of an ocean, sea town? And then like how his progression from not wanting to do this to having to do this to getting pushed back from the town, and then having to like, face his fears to become the hero in the end. Like he's the one, obviously Brody, Hooper survives, but Brody's the one that he steps up the most to become the hero of the story. It's pretty crazy. Like you guys can look it up online if you guys want to see it about hero's journey, Chief Brody, and it's just like it's crazy.
Wow.
And I like Roy Scheider. He was a great actor. So.
Yeah, he was
a great actor.
So Shanti, I just want to ask, did we cover all your notes?
Yeah, I think so. We went over. We pretty much went over everything. Yeah, we talked about the mayor being a dick. I will say I thought the movie was very funny. That was something that I will always appreciate about Spielberg, is that even when it is something on the serious side, he has such a flair for these comedic moments. Because I very much enjoy the banter between Roy Scheider and Richard Dreyfuss. It's very buddy right off the bat. So, and I think we got everything.
We talked about respecting the animal and respecting the shark, and I know that's something you feel very strongly about, Shanti. But I also want you to respect the film, Shanti. Come on.
I do respect the film. Just please, please, please don't call it a horror movie. Just don't call it a horror. It's action drama.
Action drama. All right.
Yeah.
I mean,
would you go so far to at least say it's a thriller?
Dun, 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 dun,
I'll give it that. I'll give it that. All right.
Okay.
All right.
My thing is with horror, for me, it's got to be really something that is really like beyond your control. And I guess because to me, as much as I wouldn't want to do it, I guess to me a shark is something that could be easily killed. So I feel like there wouldn't be that much conflict. But I don't know. I guess like I said, I have a different definition of what horror should be.
Sure, I get it. You're very hoity-toity when it comes to your films.
I'm a super snob when it comes to films. Are you kidding me?
And that's okay, because I get it.
Yeah.
I understand.
And I don't go as to just staying within certain decades. I go as far back as the 30s. I like my silent films. I appreciate film from its inception all the way to now, although we should taper back on the CGI just a little bit.
Just a little.
Just a little bit.
Well, folks, I want to do a quick shout out to you, Frank. Thank you very much for not only being a patron of the Scarif Scuttlebutt podcast, but offering suggestions and being on screen with us. Thank you so much, Frank. We really, really appreciate it.
Thanks, Frank.
Thank you. This has been a privilege. I mean, I want to thank you, Ro, for bringing me on here. It's been, connecting with all you guys has been so awesome. And then obviously to my friend Chantel for introducing me to this podcast. It's just, it's fun to be able to impart some of my nerd knowledge. Because I have so much of it, and my wife says I have a lot, so it's always nice to instill some of it to anybody that would listen to it.
And I'm sure you're like me. I think it's useless until I find somebody else who doesn't, who's on the same boat as me, and then I'm like, oh.
I always say I am the man of probably the most useless information until you need it, and then I'm not.
And speaking of boats, when it comes to nerd and nerdery, we definitely are going to need a bigger boat because there's so many of us. And thank God there are, because we're just having fun. talking about nerd stuff. Tonight we talked about Jaws. And again, another special shout out to all the listeners of our last Quick Cuts episode. I'm always surprised and humbled at the amount of people that wait for our episode drops. And, it skyrocketed once we dropped it last Thursday. So thank you, everybody. I know,
thank you very much.
there's a lot of content down there. There's a lot of great content, a lot of voices out there. Make sure to check out not only the Scarif podcast, but everybody else on the Red 5 network. To Red 5 and the Scarif Scuttlebutt podcast and all our friends and followers.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers, my brothers and sisters. Next, we have something planned for next week, another Scarif Live. We are going to be doing a special Chicago Live edition. We're setting that up. Like I mentioned early, Greg from Rebel Base Card and Todd from WSTR, we're going to be talking about the upcoming event that is ScarifCon that happens in July, on July 10th. We might have a couple surprises. I know there's a couple of folks that are going to help us out with some content. But yeah, we are having fun doing this podcast thing and enjoying it with all our friends. So, and then until next time, this is Ro, that's Frank, Shanti, what do we say?
That's the Scuttlebutt.
That's the Scuttlebutt.
Excellent. Talk to you guys later.
Bye, everyone.